Hi, friends. Today, I want to talk to you guys about how to trust yourself when everybody else is telling you what to do. As a Dallas life coach who's been coaching clients across the country since 2019, self-trust, self-confidence, personal agency, intuition, and really standing in your power are concepts that I coach on all the time. And I mean, they're life-changing. They're so important. They're, I'm sharing this story that I've never publicly shared before. I feel very called to do it right now. I'm kind of the kind of person where it's like, it's not necessarily about the thing, it's about what the thing represents. And so for me, what I'm about to share with you is less about like the thing I'm talking about itself and more about what that thing represents. So I'm trying to pull up my notes because otherwise I'll just talk for forever here. And I have a client here in a little while. So I want to talk to you about like what happens when the world around you gets loud and you have to decide whether you're willing to stay connected to yourself or if you're going to go the direction that you're being told to go. And this is really a story about, like I said, self-trust, self-advocacy, and learning to listen to your own intuition. This is not at all a story about politics, about medical advice, medicine in any way. I have no passion for any of that whatsoever. Like, if I wanted to be a politician, I would. If I wanted to be in healthcare, I would. That is not what this is about. It's not about debating anyone's choices or like anything like that. It's just about the internal experience of making a decision when there's pressure and fear and the possibility of losing something really important. So there was a time when I really had to choose myself, which was during the pandemic. I had to make a personal decision that was very different from a lot of the people around me regarding my health and regarding the medical opportunity that was being rolled out at that time. I knew in my heart of hearts in January 21, through my intuition, through what I believe is a direct connection with God, that that medical opportunity was not a good idea for me. There are a lot of actual reasons why, but that's not important here. I'm not trying to convince anybody of that or justify my opinion. My point is that I had to make a decision that was different from what society and the media and the status quo was. And so, in doing that, I really experienced a lot of pressure from people around me and a lot of fear of the potential consequence. I'm not going to go into like a lot of the things that people said because it was just like so grotesque. It's like, why relive it? But something I do recall is that I did have a friend, and I'm using the term friend rather loosely, someone that I know who doesn't live in the same place that I live in and who I only see like once every few years, like if that, sent me this like long text, like pressuring me to make that decision that I didn't ultimately feel comfortable making. And I remember thinking to myself, like, first of all, you barely know me. You don't know anything about like my life or what I'm doing. You never even see me. Like, what I'm doing affects you in no way, but you're going out of your way to reach out to me. And by the way, I wasn't sharing this publicly. Like I said, this is the first time I've publicly spoken about it. And I was like, my gosh, this is so rough that these people, that this person that I don't even really know is like pushing me so hard to make this decision. I used to know her, she's kind of from like a past life, she moved away, we were friends more in childhood kind of thing. And what this really made me realize was like there have been so many times with my clients where they're really outsourcing their decision making and their happiness to people in their lives who are rather kind of inconsequential. Like at the end of the day, the person that was texting me from another state pressuring me to do this is really inconsequential in my life. Again, we barely see each other. I have gone through three spine surgeries. It's not like she was here, like holding my hand through it, praying for me, whatever. Like, we just don't have that kind of relationship. And I thought about so many of my clients who say are trying to put themselves out there with like a business. And they're like, well, I don't want to post on social media because what will they think about it? And I'm like, well, who is they? Like, who are you worried about? And they'll be like, well, like, random people from high school 20 years ago are going to see me posting about my business and like they're going to have an opinion. And it's like, okay, these people from 20 years ago that aren't part of your life now are very inconsequential to like your life happiness now. So why are you letting that like influence your decision? But like think about it. Think about how often we do hold ourselves back and we don't put ourselves out there because of the opinions of other people around us. So I know like at that time for me, I kind of felt a little isolated. There was a lot of uncertainty going on and I really kind of turned to myself and I thought to myself like the question here is not like, how do I make everyone understand me? Because I don't care if other people understand me. I understand me. The question really became, can I trust myself enough to handle what happens if I make this choice that feels right for me and my employer doesn't let me work here anymore? So at that time, I was still in corporate America. I was coaching on the side. I became a full-time life coach in January of 22. And so I was thinking, can I trust myself to pull through this regardless of what happens? Because I really realized like I could lose a lot. I could lose my job, I could lose my income, I could lose friendships. But losing myself scared me more than anything else. And I'm so proud that I had that realization because I really feel like so much of what I've accomplished in my life since that was January, January 21 when all that kind of stuff started rolling out. And so much of what I've accomplished since then has really come from that place of self-trust and self-confidence. Like having the courage to leave the security of my corporate job and create full-time employment for myself. I mean, would I have done that if I didn't have the self-trust and the self-confidence? Absolutely not. I also had already had one spine surgery at that time. And then I went on to have two more, with the third most recent one being a spinal fusion, which was honestly brutal. It was a really rough recovery. And I do feel that my self-trust, my self-confidence, my personal agency and advocating for myself made it so much easier for me to navigate what was honestly the most difficult season of my life. So I see how it's like, it's not about that decision. Like I said, I wasn't trying to make a political stand, a health stand. I don't care. What I do care about is everybody being confident in themselves and their decisions and walking forward with purpose and intention and living a life that makes them feel alive. I mean, so many people are numbing their lives hardcore. I mean, you see it all the time. Social media scrolling, Netflix, alcohol, weed gummies. I mean, it's all out of control. Like I could go on, and it's because people are not connected to themselves. They're not connected to their lives. And maybe this is showing up as like staying in a career that you have outgrown. Like you're, just over it and you need to make a change, but you're scared or you're listening to people and giving into the self-doubt. Maybe you're avoiding a difficult conversation, or maybe you're ignoring a dream because it feels risky. You're making decisions based on approval and not on alignment. And what I really see in myself and in my coaching clients is that sometimes it's not that we're stuck. It's not that we're actually like lacking the answers that we're seeking. It's just that we're struggling to trust ourselves enough to act on the answers that we already have. Like, does that land with you? Like, I am being called to start this business. I am being called to leave this relationship. I am being called to move across the country, whatever it is. But you're like, oh, but that everybody's telling me that's scary. Everybody's telling me I shouldn't do that. Everybody's questioning me. What will they think? Like, I don't know. And then it's like, that's why you're stuck, because you know what you need to do. You're just not trusting yourself and confident enough in yourself to go do it. I want to say that fear is very valid here, okay? Like okay, I'm a little crazy. I have a really high level of delusion. So when I left corporate America, I really didn't have a lot of fear about it not working out. I didn't have a lot of fear about my income or clients not coming or anything like that, because I just knew in my soul that God was calling me to be a life coach. He was calling me to step out in faith, and I listened. I mean, I was so determined. And again, I mean, that was January 22. So that was a year after making this decision to not do the popular medical treatment at that time. Like, do you see how it all connects here? So sorry, my hair was driving me crazy today and it's really hot. So I do want to validate though how fear is very real here, you know? I mean, people tried to instill fear in me at that time and they were like, "Well, you're not going to pay time off, you're not going to have, corporate health insurance, you're not going to have this, you're not going to have that, like blah 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 blah." But I just chose not to hear it. But like I said, fear is very real and it is designed to protect us. But the problem is that like a lot of times we think fear is protecting us from like danger, but it's actually protecting us from the discomfort and the uncertainty that comes with growth. So it's sabotaging us, it's hurting us. I will also say about fear, fear can bring up a lot of anxiety in us. And when we're feeling anxious, our minds and our ability to creatively problem solve constrict. So when we're anxious, we don't see all the options available to us. Everything just narrows and shrinks. So a lot of times when you're feeling that fear, it's like, okay, well, action is actually the antidote to that fear. Taking action is going to show you, I'm okay, I can do this. And that's all the more reason you need that self-trust. You need that self-confidence so that you will leave that job, start over, set boundaries, choose a different path. And I really ask you right now, if you're still listening to me ramble on and you're feeling like, yeah, I am kind of stuck in my life, I don't really know what comes next. I ask you, are you actually confused about what you want next? Maybe you are. I mean, a lot of my clients are. Or do you know what you want, but you're just afraid of what will happen if you trust yourself and like go against the status quo? Are you knowing what you want, but you don't have that self-trust and that self-confidence to go for it? All of these things are things I help my clients with, building that self-trust, building that self-confidence, standing in their power, and also getting the clarity on what comes next, figuring out the how. I always say the how reveals itself. When you know who you are, and you know what you want and you're willing to start moving in that direction toward your dream and stepping out in faith, the how will reveal itself. But again, action is the antidote to fear. So if you're thinking about like fear and intuition, this is really where you bring in your faith because it can be difficult. And I know personally I struggle with this. Sometimes I'll have an idea about something or I'll feel like, okay, I think God is maybe calling me to do this, but then I kind of freeze. And I do know that I'm sorry, freezing is my fight or flight response. Like if my nervous system gets dysregulated, I do go to freeze. So I can get a little confused sometimes about like, okay, am I freezing out of self-sabotage? Am I freezing out of fear? Or am I pausing because God needs me to see something or because it's just not quite the time yet? And what I have found for me in those seasons especially is that I really have to quiet the outside noise. I can't go talk to everybody about this. I talk to my life coach about this and I talk to God about this. And that's it because everybody else is going to have their opinion and their opinions are filtered through their own lives, their own trauma lenses. So even if they love you and want what's best for you, their limiting beliefs are going to bleed over into what they're telling you. So I trust my life coach to lead me without bias. I trust God. Obviously, it's like if I'm okay in myself and I'm okay in God, what more do I need? And so for me, I need that just kind of quiet space of being intentional and praying and reflecting on, kind of what decision I need to make, what my next steps are. I really believe, and this is something I work with my clients on a lot as well, that we have to get out of our heads and into our intuition. So, like if I said to you, tell me 5 reasons why you should do this thing and 5 reasons why you shouldn't, you could because your brain can come up with evidence for either side of the coin. So it's more important to get in touch with that intuition and say, okay, well, how do I feel about this? What is God calling me to do in this? When I got in my intuition at that time in early 21 during the pandemic, I mean, it was like beyond a shadow of a doubt. Full body, no. Do not do this, Ashley. This is not for you. And it wasn't like nobody should be doing this. I was like, everybody needs to do what everybody needs to do. But I got to do what I got to do. And for me, I find that like I will get those full body yeses or those full body nos, and I get a lot of the answers that I'm seeking when I'm just out walking. If I'm out for a walk and I'm like, gosh, what a beautiful day, and I'm not even thinking about whatever the thing is, and I'm like looking around and I'm like, look at the pretty birds, look at all the dogs. And then all of a sudden, it's like this voice cuts in and is like, okay, you should do this, or have you considered this? And it's like, oh, okay, this is what I was looking for. This is what I was kind of waiting for. So just know that, like, a lot of times fear feels loud, fear feels urgent, fear feels, ugh, that feeling. And intuition and God's guidance comes with a deep sense of groundedness, of rootedness, of peace, of certainty, of, okay, that's what I'm supposed to be doing. So, when I think back on these years, I've been through a lot. Like obviously we all went through the pandemic, which I think was a massive collective trauma that's not being addressed. I mean, I know things are coming out in the media now, but I honestly think it's making the trauma worse. So, there's that. Um, like I said, from 2020 to 2025, I had three spine surgeries. I was in excruciating pain. I lost the ability to walk and care for myself multiple times. I built my business from absolutely nothing. I created full-time employment for myself, completely changed my life. There's a lot for me to be proud of, but I feel like I'm so proud of the fact that I have stayed true to myself this whole time. I haven't lost myself. And I'm also very proud of the fact that I don't bias myself with my clients or anyone else. And I really say that very steadfastly because during that time specifically, obviously there was a lot of polarization, which I personally find physically repulsive. Um, it's just gross. Polarization to me is division. It's coming from the enemy. This is not the work of God. So during that time, I had a lot of clients who were talking to me about their beliefs, and they believed literally the exact opposite of me. Like maybe they believed everybody should be doing the thing that the media was telling us to do. And I would just listen and I would really support them in their independent decision making because I really believe that what's right for me and what's right for you could be two different things. And in my coaching business and in life, I'm really big on empowerment. And empowerment is not telling somebody the right decision. Because by the way, what is right and wrong? I mean, we could go on about that, but that's a story for another day. But empowerment is not telling somebody what choice to make. Empowerment is helping someone reconnect with themselves and reconnect with their self-trust and their self-confidence enough to make their own choice, regardless of what everyone around them is doing. I really want to empower people that if, their whole family is like, we want you to be a doctor, but they're like, I want to move to California and go be a singer. It's like, if this is in your heart of hearts and you're like, I just feel this with all of my soul, like, I want you to feel empowered enough to follow it. I also really believe, like I said, with the right and wrong decision. When I look back over my life, it's like all roads lead to Rome. Even the things that I have felt like, oh gosh, that was a disaster, what a mistake, or I felt a lot of like shame around. Like this is another story I actually am really feeling called and empowered to tell. And when I was in my late 20s, I moved to Boston. I've lived in Dallas my whole life, and I moved to Boston for 3 months. Yeah, 3 months. It was like a very expensive sabbatical. And what happened was I moved there, I got a job there, and then I lost my job there. And when I lost my job there, I thought, okay, well, I can find a new job in Boston, obviously, or I can find a job in Dallas. And shockingly, despite the fact that I was so convinced that I was supposed to live in Boston and move there, which I was, but everything in me said, it's time to go back to Dallas. And I was like, what the heck? Like, I just up and changed my whole life. I made this big stink to all of my friends and like all over social media about how I was moving to Boston, changing my life. I was so proud of myself. And then now I'm going back to Dallas. Like, what? Now, at the time, God was calling me back here. I just didn't have that language at that time. And I did come back and I felt so much shame, you guys. I felt so embarrassed and so much shame. While I was in Boston during that 3 months, I lost a very important friendship in my life. It was like my best friend from college. We had a falling out, kind of relating actually to the move. And I was in so much pain. I was so heartbroken. I actually feel like the loss of a friendship can sometimes be worse than a breakup. So I was grieving that. And I was also, again, so embarrassed. Like I told everybody I was moving to Boston and now I'm back in Dallas. Like, oh my gosh. And on top of that, getting a job here, the recruiters, so this was when I was in corporate America still, obviously, but the recruiters were all like, oh, well, we don't want to tell them about you just moving to Boston like that. We don't want to tell them about. how you had this job for 3 minutes up there and then you came back, like shaming me, basically, making it sound like I made this irrational decision and then I got like fired because I did something wrong when really it was just like not a good fit. And it was a rational decision. I had thought it out. I needed that. It changed my life in so many ways. But at the time, like there was so much shame and embarrassment that came out of that. All of this, okay, I'm like losing sight of what I'm talking about, but all of this showed me that I can trust myself and I can trust my decisions, and all roads really do lead to Rome. If you are meant to do something, like I had to go to Boston, I learned so much about myself while I was there. Oh my gosh. I also learned like I am not a wintertime girly. Like, what was I thinking? Like, I'm going to be in the snow? My blood is too thin for that. I'm a Southern Belle. I don't do snow. No, hard no. And I like having a car. Okay? Driving is nice. So, anyway, I digress. All right, let's come back here. Point is, even when you make the wrong decision, something right comes out of it when you are following your inner voice, your intuition, and God. So, this really is why I do the work I do as a life coach. I went back to school to get my coaching certification in 2018, finished it in 2019, and started coaching at that time. So basically, it was the very end of 2019. So 2020 and 2021, I built up my coaching business on the side of my full-time job. And then January 22, I left to do this full time. And, so many of my clients who come to coaching are feeling so stuck. They are successful, capable people who have lost trust in themselves. They've spent years listening to expectations, opinions of others, fear. They're beat down, they're burned out. They've tried really hard, and I have felt this, like how I know how to make things happen. I know how to work hard, but sometimes I feel like I'm bumping up against an invisible wall and I just can't get the results I want. And it's so maddening. So if you're relating to this, just know I get you. You are my client. You are me. I've been there. I really believe that I go first so that I can lead the way for others. And in my coaching, I help my clients get clarity on who they really are underneath all the noise, the expectations of others, the limiting beliefs, the patterns that don't serve them, what they really want, like what they really want, not what their parents want, not what society wants, not what they're supposed to want, and then how to actually get it without doing the most. So there's a lot of building of confidence. There's a lot of building of self-trust, a lot of reconnecting to your intuition, getting out of your head, stopping the overthinking. I mean, it's just maddening. If you're overthinking, I feel you. We can certainly work on this. So my job as a coach is really to help you reconnect with the opinion, or with the opinion, reconnect with the answers that are already within you. I really firmly believe that we all have all the answers that we are seeking. They're just buried underneath things like limiting beliefs, the expectations of others, all that kind of stuff. And I really love to help people to feel empowered and to feel supported, seen, heard. I I really tell my clients, like, my goal for you is to be happy, healthy, and safe, whatever that looks like for you. You could have totally different political beliefs from me, totally different religious beliefs from me, totally different life beliefs, whatever. Like, but at the end of the day, we're all still human. We all still have so much more in common that we do different. I was actually in a room filled with entrepreneurs this morning. My church has this phenomenal entrepreneur group, and I was sitting in a small group. Maybe there were 10, 15 people in it, and of all ages, really. Everybody had a different business. Closest business to mine was a therapist, a therapist who's just starting out in her business, still working in corporate. So my point is, like, everybody's different, different places of life, all that kind of thing. And everybody shared the same fears. Everybody shared the same stressors about their business. Everybody shared the same concerns. And it's always things like that are always such a powerful reminder to me that it doesn't matter how old you are, any of those things, these external things that we try to define people by. We all have so much more in common that we do different, and we all ultimately just want to be happy. We want to live a life that makes us feel alive. And my life being happy is here in Dallas as a life coach. Your life being happy, maybe being a farmer in Idaho. I don't know. Like, it doesn't matter. Just whatever it is, like, let's find it. We just survived this pandemic. Like, the media is killing each other. The government is out of control. Like, gross. Like, let's separate from all of this and live our lives and be happy and not zone out and escape our lives because we are not able to trust ourselves and be confident enough to like actually go for what you want. Okay, that was a lot. And I have a client here in 25 minutes, so I feel like I should wrap up, but I really want to leave you guys with this notion that there's always going to be opinions, there's always going to be noise. People are going to disagree with you, people aren't going to understand you. Choosing yourself is a radical, bold act. But remember that the hardest thing that you will ever lose is yourself. And when you find yourself again, it will change the game for you. Trust me, I've been there. And I've helped so many other people to do that. And yeah, it's really, really life-changing. So I hope you followed me through this, and I hope that my wild gesturing, I just talk with my hands, um, wasn't too distracting for you, but I I trust myself to come on here and gesture wildly. I'm confident in it, and I'm just really happy to have stepped out in faith and to trust myself and to be in my personal agency and power. And I really want to help you do the same. So I'm gonna link in the description of this video a link to a blog that is really similar to this, slightly different, but similar. I think it would be nice to just kind of read it in addition to what we just talked about today. It kind of drives some of the points home more deeply. And then just know, I do offer a complimentary consultation. I do have prospective clients apply for said application because I like to make sure that we are a good fit and that this is the right time for coaching. I am in Dallas, like I said, but you can live anywhere and coach with me. So if this is the topics of self-trust, self-confidence, what comes next, getting out of your head, intuition, stopping that overthinking, decision making. If these things are really landing with you, I would be honored to shine a light for you on this journey and shine a light on those answers that are hidden within you. So I will be here when you're ready, and I wish you the happiest, most authentic life.